A single dad and CEO accidentally signed up for a parenting class and met a shy woman who stole his heart. Mr. Blake, I registered you for the busy executive parenting skills class, just like you requested, said Lauren, Nathan Blake's capable assistant, holding a tablet in one hand and a stack of files in the other. Nathan didn't even bother to look up. His eyes stayed glued to his laptop screen, where a video meeting with European partners was taking place. He signed the form with a quick flick of his pen. As long as it helps me not mess up, as long as it helps me not mess up my kid, I don't care what it is. Send it. Lauren hesitated for a second, then tapped the screen. Done. Registration confirmed. Nathan ended the meeting with a nod to his team. He leaned back in his leather chair and rubbed his temples. Running a multi-million-dollar tech company and raising a 5-year-old daughter alone was something he had never prepared for. Every parenting book he started reading was only half finished, and every free weekend had to be spent catching up on work. But he promised himself and Maya that he would try harder, be better, even if it meant sitting in a class full of dads in suits pretending they had time for bedtime stories. What he didn't know was that Lauren made a mistake. One small click on the wrong drop-down menu. Instead of executive parenting, she signed him up for prenatal care and parenting for first-time moms. The next Saturday, Nathan drove into the community center parking lot wearing jeans, a black t-shirt, and a scowl. Maya was out with a friend, and this was supposed to be a quick 2-hour class. He walked through the glass doors, following signs to room B3 infant care. As soon as he stepped in, he stopped. The room was packed with pregnant women, bellies of all sizes. Soft music played, and yoga mats covered the floor. The whiteboard was written on with lavender-colored markers. Week 1. Emotional bonding and early attachment. Nathan blinked, wondering if he had walked into the wrong room. Everyone turned to look at him. Some smiled politely. Others blinked in confusion. Then she appeared, a petite woman with long, curly brown hair and the calmest eyes he had ever seen, walked up to him, holding a stack of papers. She wore a soft blouse, sneakers, and tried to hide her nervousness behind a practiced smile. "Hello, you must be Mr. Blake." He straightened up. "That's right, Nathan Blake. I think there's been a mix-up here. I signed up for a parenting class. This is a class for parents," she replied softly, even though it's mostly for first-time moms. "Are you expecting?" Nathan raised an eyebrow. "The only thing I'm expecting is to understand my daughter better." There was an awkward silence. Some women giggled. One whispered to another, "At least he's trying." Nathan cleared his throat. "Should I join another class?" The woman hesitated. "All the other sessions are full, and we don't have a refund policy once the class starts." He stared at her. "You're kidding." "Right, I'm not," she said almost apologetically. "But you're still welcome to stay. You might learn more than you think." He looked around again, seeing the pregnancy pillows, rows of baby dolls, birthing position charts, and almost turned to leave. Mostly. Then he remembered Maya's face from the night before when she asked if her mom would teach her to braid hair. That sharp ache in his chest came back. "All right." He sighed. "Let's get this over with." The woman reached out her hand. "I'm Laya. I'll be your instructor for the next 6 weeks. He shook her hand for a moment. Her hand was warm, gentle. The class began. Leia started with introductions, guiding breathing exercises, skin-to-skin contact, and bonding techniques. Nathan kept to himself, barely interacting, feeling completely out of place. But he listened. He observed, especially when Leia spoke. Her voice was so soft it almost went unnoticed. It was inviting. Her shyness was clear, but it gave her an authenticity that surprised him. When practice started, Leia handed out baby dolls wrapped in tiny blankets. "We're going to practice the first cradle hold," she said. Think of it not as a technique, but as a silent conversation. Nathan raised an eyebrow but copied the others. He held the doll and adjusted his grip. Leia slowly walked over and stopped beside him. "Actually, not bad." He looked up at her. "I have a little experience." She smiled. "Your daughter's lucky." Nathan didn't answer. He just looked back. He just stared at the doll, somewhere deep in his chest. A dull pain started rising. By the end of class, while others chatted and packed up, Nathan stood alone by the door, ready to leave. Will you be back next week? Leia asked gently. He hesitated. Do I seem like the type to come back to a room full of pregnancy yoga balls? No, she said with a soft smile. But sometimes the people who need it most are the ones who get the least attention. He smirked. Let's see. Then he stepped out into the fading evening light, not knowing his whole world was about to change thanks to a wrong registration, a plastic doll, and a woman named Leia. Nathan sat stiffly on the edge of the yoga mat, arms crossed, eyes scanning the circle of glowing, expectant mothers chatting happily around him. He felt like a skyscraper in a sunflower field, tall, out of place, and very alone. Across the room, Leia adjusted a stack of towels and glanced at him. He did look uncomfortable, but also strangely focused. He was the only one reading the handouts, frowning, lips quietly mouthing the instructions. A complete contrast to the polished CEO she had pictured when she saw his name on the list. She smoothed the front of her blouse and took a deep breath to calm herself. Speaking in front of a crowd was never easy. But leading this class was important. It was how she helped others build the connections she had always wished for as a child. All right, everyone, she said, soft but clear. Today, we'll start with something simple, the basics of diaper changing. There were a few giggles and exaggerated groans. Leia passed around tiny baby dolls wrapped in diapers, each one snugly swaddled. Nathan took his doll silently, awkwardly holding it with both hands. Imagine this is your newborn, she continued. Technique. Nathan copied. It's not just a task, but a chance to connect. As she demonstrated, Nathan carefully imitated her movements, gently undoing the Velcro diaper tabs, wiping with a soft cloth, then fastening the new diaper. He fumbled once with the tabs, muttering under his breath, but kept trying. Leia stopped next to him. You're doing great, she said quietly. I feel like I'm diffusing a little bomb. He replied. She laughed, a brief, hoarse sound, and they were both surprised. Their eyes met. Hers quickly looked away. After class, when everyone else had left, Nathan lingered at the door. I didn't realize it took this much practice. He said, we try to keep it real. Leia replied, tucking a curl behind her ear. You'd be surprised how many people are scared just to hold a baby at first. He nodded. I'm not that scared. Just never had anyone to teach me the right way. Leia tilted her head. Your wife. He hesitated, then shook his head. I'm raising her alone. My daughter's Maya. She's 5. Leia's eyes softened. That's why you're here. Yeah, he said quietly. She deserves more than a dad who's always guessing and doubting. That confession hung in the space between them, gentle and unexpected. Over the next few sessions, the ice began to thaw. Nathan started greeting her when he arrived. Leia found herself looking forward to his questions, thoughtful, sometimes blunt, but always sincere. During the demonstrations, he paid attention like very few others. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was trying to learn. Their conversations remained short, sometimes awkward, filled with silences neither rushed to fill. But there was a quiet honesty in how they spoke, like two people who hadn't truly been seen before. One afternoon, Leia walked into the room, balancing a basket full of soft fabrics and small blankets. Today, she gently announced, we're going to talk about the power of touch, specifically skin-to-skin bonding. Nathan raised an eyebrow. It's often called kangaroo care. The idea is simple. Your baby lies directly on your chest, skin to skin. It helps regulate breathing, heart rate, and creates a deep emotional connection. As she handed out dolls, a few women started unbuttoning or rolling up their sleeves to mimic the exercise. Leia stepped over to Nathan, holding up a clean cloth. He looked at her, half smiling, half doubtful. You're not seriously asking me to take my clothes off in a room full of strangers, are you? Leia blushed slightly. No need to take anything off. Just pretend there is skin-to-skin contact. The intention is what counts. Nathan nodded softly and sat down, gently holding the doll. Then, surprising everyone, including himself, he lifted his shirt halfway up, placed the doll on his chest, and wrapped the cloth around both like a sling. He sat quietly, eyes closed. The room fell silent. Leia watched his face relax, his breath slow. And though it was just pretend, something about the way he cradled that doll so gently made her chest ache. He opened his eyes and caught her staring, embarrassed. She looked away. Perfect, she whispered. Nathan didn't smile, but his gaze was softer now, and for the first time since the class began, Leia forgot her worries. Something in the air shifted quietly, gently, and neither of them knew it yet. But that small, sincere moment would be the very first thread connecting their hearts. By the third week of class, Nathan Blake had become something unusual. The man who once stood awkwardly by the door, arms crossed and wary, was now the first to arrive, often reviewing materials or asking questions before class even started. Leia noticed. Everyone noticed. Despite running a multi-million-dollar company, Nathan never missed a single session. His tailored suits gradually gave way to rolled-up sleeves and a notebook always at hand, where he jotted down newborn cues, emotional bonding, and the importance of storytelling. He listened with the focus of someone attending a shareholders meeting. But his questions shifted from technical parenting theories to practical ways to connect emotionally with children. What surprised Leia most wasn't just his dedication, but the tenderness beneath his usually cold demeanor, especially when his daughter was near. Maya, a 5-year-old with big hazel eyes and soft curly hair, joined one of the weekend sessions when Nathan's babysitter was sick. Leia planned to keep her busy with crayons and quiet toys, but Maya insisted on sitting next to her dad the whole time, whispering questions or mimicking exercises with her doll. From the start, Maya was especially drawn to Leia. She was like a flower turning toward sunlight. Watching her closely, she moved with her, listened intently when she spoke, and slipped her hand into Leia's during breaks. One afternoon, after class ended and the last moms had left, Leia stayed behind to clean up. Maya sat in the back with a set of crayons and craft paper, quietly drawing. When Leia approached, the girl proudly held up her artwork. "This is my family," she said, pointing at the figures. Leia smiled. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. Let's take a look. There's you and this one. That's Mom," Maya replied softly. "And that's our dog. And that's our house." Leia studied it closely. A colorful, sweet picture. But something caught the girl's attention. "There's no dad." She hesitated. "Where's my dad in the picture?" Maya looked down. "Dad's always working. He doesn't play with me." The words fell with a quiet heaviness. Later that day, Leia waited until most people had left, then approached Nathan, who was packing up in the back of the room. "Can Maya talk to you for a minute?" she asked. He looked up, surprised. "Sure. Is everything okay?" "It's about Maya," she said gently, then told him about the drawing. Nathan was silent, jaw clenched. Did she say that? She didn't mean it seriously. Leia quickly added, "But clearly it's weighing on her." He ran his hand through his hair. "Unreadable expression. I've done everything I can to make sure she has what she needs. School, clothes, therapy, a babysitter. She doesn't want any of that." Leia said softly, "She wants you." Nathan said nothing. He stared into the empty space where his daughter sat, a look of pain deeper than anger crossing his face. Guilt. The next day, Leia organized a parent-child bonding activity. Each pair would create a dream family portrait together, coloring with their partner, Nathan, while the other moms giggled and colored with their partners. Nathan knelt beside Maya on the carpet, a sheet of paper between them. At first, he hesitated, awkwardly holding a colored pencil. "What should we draw?" he asked. Maya looked at him, curious. "You don't know," he smiled. "Maybe you can show me." For the next 20 minutes, they colored together. Nathan drew himself with exaggerated muscles. Maya giggled and made bunny ears behind him. Leia watched from across the room, quietly smiling as their laughter filled the air. When they finished, Maya proudly held up the new drawing. This time, the family was complete. There was Maya, her dad, and beside them, a woman with soft curly hair, just like Leia's. Nathan blinked at the drawing, then glanced at Leia. Their eyes met for a moment before she looked away, cheeks flushed. Later, as they were getting ready to leave, Maya tugged on Leia's sleeve and hugged her tight. "Thank you for today," she whispered. Leia froze. The warmth of the child's arms, the softness in her voice, all hit her at once. She slowly knelt down, trembling hands touching Maya's shoulders. "What do you call me?" "Sweetheart," she asked, almost whispering. Maya looked up with complete trust. Teacher mom. Like a teacher mom. You make me feel safe like my mom used to. Leia's throat tightened. Tears spilled, blurring the room around her. She glanced at Nathan, who had witnessed everything. Stunned and silent, in that moment, Leia realized the depth of the void she had unwittingly filled in both their lives. And for Nathan standing there, the woman he'd first seen as a quiet mentor had just become something far more important. Neither of them said a word, but everything had changed. It all started with a random invite, a spontaneous weekend at the local zoo. Nathan had asked hesitantly, half expecting Leia to say no, but surprisingly, she smiled and said, "Only if I get cotton candy for Maya." That Saturday, the three of them strolled sunlit paths between the animal enclosures. Maya held both their hands tightly, swaying between them, her laughter like a spring wind chime. Nathan couldn't stop stealing glances at Leia. The way she moved naturally beside them, the way she connected with Maya so effortlessly. And her laughter loosened something inside him he didn't even realize had been so tightly wound. After the trip to the zoo, there was a picnic in the park. Then the following weekend, a little baking afternoon in Leia's kitchen, where Maya smeared frosting on her nose and Nathan laughed much more freely than in previous years. Evenings grew quieter, more meaningful. Sometimes Leia stayed for dinner. Other times, she'd take Maya to her bedroom, read her a story, and kiss her forehead goodnight before quietly stepping out. The warmth of those nights was undeniable, but the pain in Leia's chest grew heavier too. Nathan was kind, thoughtful, and clearly cared about both her and Maya. But Leia had heard enough promises in her life to recognize the signs of a love that might not last. She'd grown up with a revolving door of caregivers after her mother died, people who were kind at first, but always temporary. And sometimes, when Nathan talked about the future, it was always just me and Maya, never us, upstairs. Leia mustered all her courage to, one Thursday night, after dinner at Nathan's, with Maya asleep upstairs, Leia gathered all her courage to ask, "Have you ever thought about this?" she said softly. Nathan looked up while clearing the table. "What do you mean? About you and me?" She spoke almost in a whisper. "With Maya, is this just a comfort thing, a temporary routine?" Nathan frowned, caught off guard. "Leia, I don't know how to answer that. Things are fine. Better than I expected. But I haven't thought that far ahead." "Me neither." Leia gave a sad smile. "That's what I figured." The next morning, Nathan was gone. A company crisis overseas forced him to leave on an early flight. He meant to call to explain, at least leave a message. But in the chaos, he forgot. His assistant messaged the school to apologize for Maya's absence. Nothing more. Leia waited for a call that never came. Days passed. No messages. No updates. Just silence. The atmosphere in the classroom grew heavier. Leia tried to push through, but her heart wasn't in it anymore. Her smiles for the other moms faded. The warmth she used to feel when talking about raising a child felt distant and empty. By the fourth day, she typed a simple email to the center director effective immediately. "I will be stepping down from teaching. Thank you for your understanding." When Nathan returned that Sunday evening, exhausted but eager to see Maya and Leia, he felt the change the moment he walked into the classroom Monday morning. She wasn't there. Instead, a substitute teacher greeted him with a forced smile. "Mr. Blake, welcome back. I'll be covering the next few classes." "Where's Leia?" he asked, confused. The substitute teacher hesitated. "She's on leave." Nathan frowned. "No one told me." She shrugged apologetically. She didn't say much. He sat through the whole class, distracted, barely hearing a word. As soon as class ended, he stepped into the hallway and dialed Leia's number. The phone rang. Once, twice, then voicemail. He tried again, and again. Still nothing. He stared at the phone. Something cold was blooming in his chest. Leia had disappeared from his life without a word. And worst of all, he knew why he'd left her behind. Nathan stood outside Leia's apartment. The soft sounds of the city life. Were muffled in the hallway as he stared at her door. He knocked twice. No answer. He could hear footsteps inside. the rustle of fabric. But she didn't come to the door. "Leia," he said softly, his voice low. "Please, just talk to me." Silence. He waited a few more seconds, then sighed and stepped back. The ache in his chest tightened as he turned away and walked off, his footsteps echoing down the hall. At home, Maya sat on the living room rug, quietly drawing. Her usually cheerful voice had faded in recent days. Nathan watched her from the kitchen, arms crossed, unsure how to reach her. "Hey, Peanut," he said, trying to sound upbeat. "What are you drawing?" She held up a picture, 3 stick figures, one with curly hair and a gentle smile. "Is that me?" he asked. Maya shook her head. "It's you, me, and Miss Lila. I miss her." Nathan's heart sank. He knelt beside her. "I know, sweetie." She looked up at him with wide, questioning eyes. "Where did she go?" "Daddy." He opened his mouth, then closed it. "She needs time." "Did we do something wrong?" "No," he said quickly. "No, sweetheart. You did nothing wrong. But I did. I let her go without realizing how much she meant to both of you." That night, after putting Maya to bed, Nathan sat in the dark with an untouched glass of wine in his hand. Looking out the window, he thought about Laya's quiet strength, her kindness, how she instinctively knew how to comfort Maya, and how she looked at him like he was more responsible than he felt. He remembered she wasn't just Mia's favorite teacher. He remembered her laughter, her presence, the peace she brought to their once empty home. But he also understood she had grown up with people leaving. Maybe she spent years believing love was temporary, that she could be replaced. And hadn't he confirmed that for her, he left without warning? No calls, no showing her she mattered. Nathan set the glass down and buried his face in his hands. The next evening, she started running a slight fever. Maya was unusually quiet at dinner, then asked to go to bed early. Nathan checked her temperature. It was higher than normal, but not alarming. He gave her fluids and stayed by her side until she fell asleep. But around midnight, he woke to her moaning. Her body was burning to the touch. When he tried to wake her, she stirred but was confused, mumbling incoherently. Then her small body started shaking, first lightly, then more violently. Panic surged inside him. He called the pediatric emergency line, but the nurse said the nearest ER was overwhelmed and advised close monitoring. He was alone and scared. His hand moved before his mind caught up, dialing the only person he could think of. "Laya," she answered on the second ring. "Hello, this is Nathan," he said, voice tense. "She's got a fever. She's just having a seizure. I don't know what to do." "I'm on my way," she said without hesitation. Less than 20 minutes later, Leia rushed through the door, pale-faced but focused. She set her bag on the couch and went straight to Maya's room. Nathan followed helplessly as she placed a cool cloth on the girl's forehead and spoke softly, soothingly. "She's calming down now," Leia whispered. "Let's keep her hydrated and stay with her through the night." Nathan sat by the bed, hands trembling. "I don't know who else to call." Leia looked at him, and for the first time in days, their eyes met without anger, only worry and something unspoken. "You did the right thing," she said gently. They stayed like that until dawn, taking turns cooling Maya's fever, reading her favorite book, and humming lullabies as her breathing evened out. Before sunrise, Leia tucked Maya's hair behind her ear and looked at Nathan, who was slumped in the chair beside the bed. "You really love her," she said. He looked at her, eyes tired but more honest than anything. Foolish for making her feel like she could be replaced. Leia didn't answer, but she reached across the space between them and took his hand. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. The first light of dawn gently spilled through Mia's window, casting a soft golden glow across the room. The night had been long and full of worry, but now the house was quiet again. Mia slept peacefully, the fever finally gone, breathing slow and steady, and steadily. Nathan sat on the armchair beside the bed, his elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped together in quiet gratitude. Leia curled up on the other side of the bed, one arm draped over the little girl protectively, her eyes fixed on the sleeping face of the child. They didn't talk much through the night, but words were no longer needed. Everything important passed between them through glances, the gentle exchange of a damp cloth, and the way they took turns watching over the girl, who had quietly become the center of both their worlds. After a while, Leia shifted slightly and looked over at Nathan across the room. Their eyes met tired, red-rimmed, but gentle. "She looks so peaceful now," Leia whispered. Nathan nodded. "You saved both of us tonight." Leia shook her head. "You saved her." "Nathan, you were there when it mattered most." He looked down, took a deep breath, and let the truth come out. "I've spent most of my life doing what people expected of me." He spoke slowly about building a company, attending meetings, and making sure every decision was perfect. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what it really feels like to feel, to be present. Leia listened quietly. Nathan turned to look at her. "Last night, holding her and feeling helpless, I realized I didn't want to go back to being the person who keeps everything soft at arm's length. I want to live with an open heart, not just with my head. I want to choose connection. I want to choose you." Leia swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "I'm really scared. Scared that I'm just filling a space someone else left behind. That maybe when things settle down, you won't need me anymore." "You're not a placeholder, Leia," he said firmly. "You're the one Mia runs to, the one she trusts, the one I trust. You're not just someone she loves. You're the one she chose." Leia blinked, her eyes lighting up. Nathan leaned forward, his voice low and husky. "And you're the one I need, not because you just showed up, but because you saw us. Because you stayed." They sat silently, the air thick with emotion. The weight of unspoken feelings was finally lifted. Then a soft whisper broke the silence. "Mom, Leia." They both turned toward the bed. Maya had woken up. Her voice was weak, still groggy, but her eyes were wide and bright as she looked at Leia. She raised her tiny hands and whispered again. "Mom!" Leia gasped. One hand went up to cover her mouth as tears streamed down. She leaned in closer, brushing Maya's hair back, her voice trembling. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm right here." Nathan stood, moved to the other side of the bed, and gently rested a hand on Maya's blanket. Leia looked at him, her face wet with tears. In her eyes, Nathan saw everything he had ever wanted, but was too scared to hope for. Love, family, connection. He took Leia's hand, and she held it without hesitation. No big speeches, no declarations, just Maya lying between them, smiling in a light sleep. And two hearts, once guarded and distant, now joined by a quiet, strong bond of love. The main hall of the community center buzzed with quiet excitement. Chairs were neatly arranged beneath banners that read, "Raising Kids with All Your Heart for Single Dads and Moms." It was the first day of a new class for single parents, an idea Nathan had proposed and funded himself. At the front, Nathan adjusted some cards he didn't need. His gaze shifted to the side entrance just as the creaky door opened. Leia walked in, wearing a soft cream dress and a quiet confidence she'd never shown before. Her eyes found Nathan's, and she smiled warmly, steadily, and with certainty. "You came," he said as he stepped toward her. "I asked." She answered, "And I'm ready." He took her hand and led her to the front. As they sat together, quiet whispers spread throughout the room. Many recognized Leia from the prenatal class. Seeing her next to Nathan Blake, the elusive CEO, sparked surprise and admiration. Nathan began the session with calm confidence. "I'm not here as a businessman," he said. "I'm here as a dad who didn't know what he was doing, and I want you to meet the person who changed that." He gestured to Leia, who blushed as soft applause filled the room. Leia took the mic with a shy smile. "I used to think being a good dad meant having all the answers," she said. "But then I met a little girl who taught me that what kids really need is someone who sees them. And I met a dad brave enough to try." Nathan's hand gently rested on hers. As she sat back down, pride shone in his eyes. When the session ended and attendees mingled, Maya ran into the room in a yellow dress and mismatched socks. She spotted Nathan and Leia right away. "Daddy!" "La!" she shouted, running over and wrapping her arms around them. "Daddy's so good." She told Leia, "You listen to everything." La kissed her cheek. "Aren't you supposed to be in the back? I wanted to see you." "Both of you," Maya whispered. They stood there wrapped up in each other, a perfect picture of something deeper than coincidence. Later, as the hall cleared and soft acoustic music played, Nathan turned to Leia and took her hand. "I've given a lot of speeches," he said softly. "Speeches," he said gently. "But this one is the most important." Before she could answer, he dropped to one knee and pulled out a small velvet box. Leia gasped. "You helped me become a better dad," he said. "But more than that, you taught me how to love again. Not through perfection, but through presence." By seeing, he opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. Perfect. He was asking for forever. To be by her side. "I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for forever. To be with you. Leia Moore. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Leia's eyes as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, kneeling to embrace him. Maya cheered, wrapping her arms around both of them. Applause erupted from the back of the room as Nathan slid the ring onto her finger, and there, where everything had once begun by chance, a new life officially started, together. Sunlight poured through the tall windows of the Blake home, warm and soft, casting golden rays across the hardwood floor. The once minimal, sterile space had transformed. Small art projects decorated the fridge, toy horses lined up under the stairs, and the sweet smell of something baking filled the kitchen. At the center of it all stood Yilla, barefoot, her curly hair tucked behind her ears as she placed the final swirl of frosting on a pale pink cupcake. "Maya!" she called. "Your cupcakes are ready to decorate." Footsteps hurried down from upstairs. A moment later, Maya appeared at the doorway wearing a sparkly dress and a paper crown, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mom! Leia!" she shouted, running over. Leia smiled and scooped her up. Even though her belly was growing bigger, Maya wrapped her arms around her and gently rested her head on Leia's shoulder. "I want one with sugar sprinkles, one with stars, and one with chocolate for Daddy," she said with authority. "Of course," Leia replied. "And maybe one for your little brother or sister, too," Maya gasped. "Oh, I can frost a smiley face on those." From the living room, Nathan chuckled. "Better start practicing. They'll expect a full birthday cake when they're born." He stepped into the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair a little messy, holding a book and wearing a warm, satisfied smile. He bent down to kiss Leia's cheek, his hand gently stroking her back. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Almost," she said, "just waiting for the guest of honor." Maya beamed. "Today's your party." "Exactly," Nathan said, lifting her up and spinning her around before setting her down. "And you're about to turn 6. How did that happen?" "I did it," she said proudly, pointing to a handmade sign on the fireplace that read, "Happy birthday to the sweetest girl in the world." That night, after finishing the cupcakes, the balloons floated up to the ceiling, and finally, Maya was bathed and tucked into bed, the house falling silent. Nathan sat on the edge of Maya's bed, the soft glow of a nightlight dancing on the wall behind him. He held an old picture book in his hands, her favorite, and began reading in a gentle, soothing voice. Leia stood by the door, one hand on her belly, watching the scene with a heart full of emotion, and the bunny said, "Wherever you are, I will be there too." Nathan read, his voice softer now, eyes on the sleeping little girl, her breathing already steady. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Good night, Peanut. Sleep well, Mom." "Leia." Leia stepped forward and gently kissed Maya's cheek. The little girl had drifted off to dreamland. Together, Leia and Nathan stepped away, into the hallway. The door clicked softly closed behind them. They walked quietly to the cozy study, where the fireplace crackled silently. Leia curled up on the couch, and Nathan joined her, pulling a blanket over both of them. She rested her head on his shoulder, his arm wrapped protectively around her. 6 years old, she said softly. 6 years old. And now we have another on the way. Nathan placed his hand on her belly, feeling the slightest flutter beneath his palm. "I never imagined life like this." Leia smiled. "Neither did I." He turned to her, eyes full of warmth. "You gave us more than love. You gave us a home." She leaned into him, their fingers intertwined. "You both gave me a purpose." They sat like that for a long time. No rush, no distractions, just a quiet home. a sleeping daughter, a future unfolding, and a love that grew not from perfection, but from effort, trust, and willingness to try. Nathan kissed her temple. Do you ever think back to that first class, the one where I made you hold a naked baby doll in a room full of pregnant women? She laughed. He grinned. That exact class. He thinks about it all the time. She whispered, how one mistake brought us here. He nodded, voice low. Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. Leia turned to him, her voice full of feeling. Do you think we'll be good parents to 2 kids? He smiled. We already make a good team. She leaned in, resting her head on his chest. That was enough for him. That's enough for me. Outside, stars began to appear, sparkling over the quiet city. Inside, a family lay together, whole, imperfect, and deeply connected. Thank you for joining us on this warm journey of love, healing, and unexpected new beginnings. Nathan, Leela, and little Maya remind us that family isn't always about being born into it. Sometimes it's beautifully chosen, and even when life leads us down the wrong path, it can still bring us to the right people. The story of Nathan, Leia, and Maya teaches us profound lessons about love, connection, and healing through unexpected moments. It reminds us that family is not just about blood, but about dedication, understanding, and the willingness to grow together. Leia helped Nathan bridge the gap to become a better father, while Nathan and Maya gave Leia a sense of belonging. Their love blossomed from genuine moments, proving that sometimes mistakes lead to beautiful outcomes. Let's cheer for Nathan and Leia by spreading their inspiring journey. Share this story of building a family through love and perseverance to uplift others. Nathan should continue prioritizing time with Maya and Leia, balancing work and family, and engage in community activities to share his experiences. Leia could expand her classes to support more single parents, fostering deeper connections. If this story touched your heart, follow Touching Tales Hub for more moving stories. Hit the subscribe button, share with friends, and let's spread the love together. Keep coming back for tales that remind us how love finds us in the most unexpected places.